In the world of the Valero family, Darian and I were known for two things: him for being untouchable, me for being the one who never left. Everyone knew I was devoted to Darian. It started when we were children. I was born with a weak heart, a defect my parents couldn't afford to treat, so they left me at a charity ward and never returned. Darian was nothing but a messenger for the family's lower operations, his father buried in debts he would never climb out of. He had no name, no future, no safety, but to pay for my first surgery. He walked into work that no one else would survive. The kind where each contract was written in blood and every payment came with a cost he never spoke about. He rose through fear and silence, and the Valero family eventually took him in as their own. I became his wife, the way I had always believed I would. 12 years into our marriage, Darian stopped returning home. I would sit at a table with 2 plates, the food turning cold, calling him until my voice gave out. Sometimes I would hear a woman in the background from the private wing he kept at the family's estate. There was always someone willing to stay. My closest friend Ronan could not understand it. Is it worth it? He doesn't love you anymore. I would smile. He gave me my life. I know he still loves me. Then Ronan sent me an encrypted file. A girl in a hospital bed held someone's hand in the frame, a hand wearing the family signet ring. The caption read, "He promised to marry me when I get better." I stared at the screen. Until my vision blurred, I knew that ring. I had placed it on his finger more times than I could count. Ronan's next message hit harder. "That's him, isn't it? He's planning to marry someone else, and you're still standing by him? He doesn't deserve you." Ronan never softened his words, but I knew he meant well. And honestly, I already knew Darian had spent years bleeding for me, days collecting debts for the family, nights doing work that left scars. He never explained. Mornings at my bedside before I woke. All of it for me. Back then, I made a vow. This man bought my heartbeat with his own suffering, and no matter what happened, whether he wanted me or not, I would never walk away. I looked at the girl in the photo. She was barely 20, pale and thin enough to look breakable. She reminded me of who I used to be. I closed my eyes, then opened my messages. Darian's thread. Hours earlier, I had sent him questions. Was he coming home? Should I keep dinner? Was something wrong? His reply, 2 words. Work matters. I laughed, quietly checked the location Ronan had sent me, and walked into the rain. The storm hit the moment I stepped outside, heavy and cold without warning. My clothes were soaked before I reached the cab. I did not care. I stopped at a florist and bought an overpriced arrangement, then walked into the hospital, checked in, and made my way to the private wing. I knocked. Who is it? A girl's voice from inside. I didn't answer. Then another voice, one I knew better than my own. Stay there. I'll get it. So this was what work looked like now. The door opened. Darian's face carried a softness I had not seen in years. The moment he saw me, it vanished. You? How did you find me? His voice dropped, and he stepped into the doorway, blocking the gap. What are you doing here? You're not going to cause a scene, are you? This is a hospital. She just had surgery. She can't handle stress. If you have something to say it here. I hadn't spoken a word. I laughed quietly to myself. Work. I thought you were handling work. Do you have to do this right now? Darian's jaw tightened, his knuckles wrapping around the metal frame. I don't get a moment to myself anymore. Everything has to go through you. I run this family's security. I'm not your messenger. I didn't answer. I tried to step inside with the flowers, and he grabbed my wrist. What do you think you're doing? The sound that came from my wrist wasn't right. His grip was too hard. I heard something give. The bouquet hit the floor, flowers scattering. Darian realized he had gripped too hard and let go fast. The pain hit sharp through my whole arm. I looked down at the bruise already spreading across my skin. Deep purple forming fast. Years of brutal work had made Darian stronger than almost anyone. The kind of man who could break bone without thinking. I had asked him once if it was worth it, nearly dying for me over and over. He would grin like he had no doubts at all. Besides, he had said, these hands I built up, they can kill, but they'll protect you too. The hands, built to protect me, had just become the thing hurting me. Did that hurt? Darian looked at me standing there, silent, his voice going quieter than I expected. If you weren't trying to push past me, I wouldn't have. He reached out gently, fingers wrapping around my wrist, expression unreadable. Let me take you to get that looked at Darian. Are you done? My heart is feeling bad. The girl's voice came through from inside, thick with held-back tears. Darian dropped my wrist immediately, half turning back toward the room. Then he stopped. He glanced down at my wrist, his voice rough. Go, find a nurse. Get it looked at. Lila needs me right now. The door closed. I don't know how long I stood in that hallway. Through the door, I could hear Darian's voice going soft and patient as he calmed her down, and Lila's voice carrying over his tearful and upset. Is that woman trying to take you from me? I don't want you to go. I turned and walked away. The wall sconce at the end of the corridor flickered once, like something being extinguished. I got home and treated the bruise myself, still wearing the rain-soaked clothes. I sat on the couch and stared at nothing until I didn't know anything anymore. I came back to myself in the ICU. I can't believe you skipped dinner, ran a fever, you didn't notice and thought you were invincible. Ronan's voice beside me. His eyes were red. I looked at him and for some reason, the tears came immediately. I'm sorry. My heart had been damaged since childhood. The surgery hadn't fixed everything. The doctor said I needed at least a week. The next day, the door to my room slammed open. Not like a nurse, like someone arriving angry. I thought it was Ronan. It was Darian. He was across the room in 2 strides, dropping to his knees beside my bed, grabbing my hand. Why didn't you tell me you were hospitalized? Why didn't you say anything? I didn't speak. I didn't look at him. Darian exhaled. He tucked my cold hand under the blanket, then finally said, I know I handled things wrong the other night. I shouldn't have let you go home alone, but you've had heart problems yourself. You know how bad it can get? Lila's just my associate's little sister and that. Man took a bullet for me. I couldn't turn my back on that. I turned my head and looked at him. Just your associate's little sister. The kind of friend's sister you promised to marry. What are you talking about? Darian's brow furrowed. You stop making things up. I'm never going to marry Lila. I'm looking after her for a few days, and you're this jealous. Do you know who her brother is? He saved my life. I smiled slightly and held up my phone. The screenshot I had saved. Darian glanced at it and dismissed it. She's 20 girls that age make jokes like this all the time. It doesn't mean anything. When did you get so sensitive? I didn't say anything then. His patience wearing thin. Okay. I know I've been making you unhappy lately, but I'm not interested in Lila. Not like that. He found a way around my guard and pulled me against him the same way he used to chin resting against my head. His voice dropped low. You're the one I love. Stop overthinking it. I hesitated. Then I put my arms around him. His jacket smelled like perfume. Not mine. Not his. Something young and sweet. The kind of scent that belonged on a girl half my age. A flicker crossed his face. Relief. All right, he said, patting my back. What do you want to eat? You're in recovery. You need to eat properly. I named something. He stood up to go, and right before he walked out, his phone rang. He lowered his voice to take it and said, I'll be there soon. Don't be scared, in the same voice he used to use with me when things were different. On the day I was discharged, I ran into Lila in the corridor. She was wandering in her hospital gown. I tried to walk past her without acknowledging her. She grabbed my hand. Oh my God, are you Sarah? I always see your name on his phone. You're even his wallpaper. She stared at me like I was famous, holding on and not letting go. Who are you to him? Why is he keeping your picture like that? I looked at her, calmly. Darian never told you who I am. She shook her head. I smiled. Then I'll tell you I'm his wife. Lila's face went white. She let go of my hand and stumbled backward. No, that can't be right. He's supposed to marry me, he said. So who are you showing up like this? I've been married to him for 12 years, I said without raising my voice. Lila dropped to the floor crying, hyperventilating. I stood there feeling mostly confused. The noise drew a crowd. People waiting to pay their bills. Strangers who didn't know anything who started pointing at me. Look at her. A grown woman going after a girl like that. That poor thing is sobbing, and she just stands there. I looked at them. Did anyone here see me say a single word to her? Did anyone see me touch her? They glanced at each other. Then came the sound of dress shoes on marble. The rhythm I knew from every family meeting where Darian walked in. He came through the crowd at a near-run face tight with fury jacket flaring at the hem, the holster at his hip half visible. Beneath it, he dropped to one knee beside Lila. Voice, soft, easy. Breathe in, out. You're okay. I'm here. You finally came. She let out a sob. He got her settled in a wheelchair, then turned and looked at me. He crossed the distance. Crack. The slap knocked everything out of my head for a moment. My lips split, and I tasted blood. That was the first time Darian had ever hit me. For another woman. For something. I thought you'd at least have some sympathy for Lila. You both had heart problems. You of all people should understand. But instead of cutting her any slack, you go after her just because she has feelings for me. I touched my cheek already swelling. I looked at him. When exactly did I go after her? There was almost a laugh in my voice. I came to finish my discharge paperwork. She grabbed me, told me I was a mistress, had a crowd cursing me out, and somehow this is my fault. Lila sat in her wheelchair, wiping her eyes. I never called you a mistress. I would never say something like that. It was the first time in my life I laughed out of pure bitterness. Darian's hand had moved before he'd even thought about it. When he actually looked at my face, the swelling already blooming red, something stalled in him. He hadn't meant to hit me, but then Lila's crying pulled him back. Darian, do you really think I'm that kind of person? I know exactly what kind of person you are, Darian said, smoothing her hair. Then he turned back to me with a frown. Sarah, you've really let me down. I almost laughed again. I see you know exactly what kind of person she is. You've known me for 30 years, and you still don't know what kind of person I am. I smiled at the irony of it, turned around, finished my discharge paperwork without another word, and walked away. Something twisted in Darian's chest that he couldn't explain. "Excuse me." A girl who had been in line behind me spoke up, looking uncomfortable. I was standing with her the whole time. "I don't know what you want to believe, but she didn't do anything. The cameras are right there. If you want to check, I'm only saying this because it wasn't right." She left before anyone could respond. Darian stood there. "What's her problem?" Lila muttered. Then she realized Darian was watching her. "You believe me, don't you? Don't listen to strangers?" She pressed a hand to her chest. My heart again. Darian didn't say anything, but something had shifted in him that he couldn't name. Something quiet and sour. He wheeled Lila back to her room, stood to leave, and she grabbed his arm. "Don't go. Stay with me." The conflict in his face was visible. In the end, he sat back down and touched her hair. "Get some sleep." By then, I was already out on the street, and I suddenly realized I had nowhere to go after the wedding. My old apartment had been reclaimed by the family. I had been living in a house in Darian's name. A wedding gift from the Valero patriarch. Title deeds in his name. Everything I owned, nothing. A mob wife's entire estate was her husband's protection, and that protection had slowly become a blade. I laughed at myself quietly. The sky was getting dark. The rain came back. There was a bus stop across the street. The light turned green, and I ran for it, hand over my head. Then a set of headlights cut through the dark, and a horn blared. A black SUV. No plates, windows blacked out. I turned my head toward it. Then I was in the air. Everything went red. The pain from my body was one thing, but the pain in my stomach was something else entirely. Something that made me want to scream. In that one instant, I felt like I'd lost something. Something that had just barely been there. I didn't even get to cry. The world went dark. One tear trickled slowly into my hair. When I woke, the world smelled like antiseptic and rain. For a moment, I thought I was back in my childhood hospital room, waiting for Darian to come in with cheap flowers and blood on his sleeve, grinning like nearly dying was nothing. Then I opened my eyes. Ronan was beside me. Not Darian. Ronan sat in the chair with his elbows on his knees, both hands clasped so tightly his knuckles had gone white. His shirt was wrinkled. His hair was a mess. His eyes were red in a way I had never seen before. The moment he saw me awake, his face changed, Sarah. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. My throat felt scraped raw. He reached for the water, then stopped before touching me. "Can I?" I blinked once. He lifted the straw to my lips with hands that shook. That frightened me more than the tubes. Ronan had stared down armed men and laughed at their threats. Seeing him shake over a cup of water told me something had broken badly. I swallowed once. The pain in my body came back. Slowly, then faster. My ribs, my shoulder, my face, my stomach. I moved my hand toward it. Ronan caught the movement and looked away. That told me before any doctor did what happened. His jaw tightened. "You were hit outside the hospital." I remember the car. No plates blacked out. It left before anyone could get close. I closed my eyes. Of course, the world was never kind enough to make my suffering random. Darian. Ronan's mouth hardened. He came after I called the family emergency line. Not before. A laugh tried to crawl out of me. It became a cough. Ronan leaned forward immediately. "Don't I turn my head away? Where is he now?" "Outside. I told security not to let him in." "You told security?" "My name was the first one on the hospital consent sheet you filed years ago." His voice cracked once. "You forgot, didn't you? Back when Darian was always somewhere dangerous, I had made Ronan my emergency contact because he was the one most likely to answer." It had seemed practical then. Now it had saved me from waking up to the young man holding my hand. The doctor came in a few minutes later, a woman with tired eyes and a soft voice. Ronan stood, but he did not leave. I looked at him. "Stay." He sat back down. The doctor checked the chart, then looked at me. "Mrs. Valero." "I'm sorry." No one says sorry before good news. My fingers curled into the blanket. "You were in very early pregnancy." The room went completely silent. I heard the machine beside me. A slow beep. Another. The impact caused complications. We couldn't save the pregnancy. I stared at her. Pregnancy. The word did not fit anywhere inside me. I had been angry, soaked, bruised, homeless, slapped, and alone. And somewhere under all of that, a tiny life had existed so quietly, I had not even known to protect it. My hand pressed against my stomach. Nothing had changed on the outside. That felt cruel. Something had existed for such a short time that I had not even known how to love it yet, and still losing it hollowed me out. Ronan made a sound like someone had punched him. I did not cry. Not then. The grief was too new to understand that water was expected. The doctor spoke gently about rest trauma monitoring and the damage to my already weak heart. Her words passed over me like rain on glass. All I could think of was Darian kneeling in front of Lila. "Breathe in, out. You're okay. I'm here." I had been bleeding in the street. Our child had been leaving me, and he had been teaching another woman how to breathe. When the doctor left, Ronan did not speak for a long time. Then he placed a file on the bed table. I started pulling footage. I turned slowly. The SUV, not random. His voice had gone flat. That was Ronan, when rage became useful. Hospital exit camera caught the vehicle circling twice before you came out. The route it used after the hit runs through 2 blocks controlled by people who don't move unless someone tells them. The traffic camera at the underpass was wiped, but not cleanly, and someone at the hospital sent a message 3 minutes before you stepped outside. To who he hesitated. My chest hurt Ronan. To Lila's brother, my mouth went dry. The associate who took a bullet for Darian, the debt. Darian had used like a chain around my throat. Ronan's eyes burned. I don't know yet if Lila ordered it, if her brother did, or if someone moved for her, because they thought Darian would want you scared off. But it wasn't a street accident. The heart monitor sped up. Ronan leaned closer. Sarah, breathe. I almost laughed. Everyone kept telling me to breathe, as if breathing were the issue. As if the problem was not that every breath I had left now belonged to a life Darian had made impossible. The door burst open before evening. Security tried to stop him. Darian forced his way in anyway. His face was pale, hair damp from rain jacket thrown on wrong. For once, he did not look like the man people lowered their eyes, for he looked like a man arriving at the ruins after the fire had already eaten the house. Sarah Ronan stood between us. Darian's eyes flicked to him. Move, no. The word landed hard. Darian's jaw clenched. This is my wife Ronan's. Smile was small and cruel. Funny. You remembered that after? The car Darian lunged half a step. The machine screamed around me. I closed my eyes. Stop. Both men froze. My voice was weak, but it still reached them. Darian looked at me then. Really looked. The bandage near my temple. The split lip he had caused before the crash ever touched me. The wrist still dark from his grip. The face he had slapped in front of strangers. Something twisted in his expression, Sarah. I didn't know. I was with Lila, and nobody don't he. He stopped. His eyes dropped to the papers on the table. The top page was turned face down good. He did not deserve to learn about our child beside my hospital bed, like something private still existed between us. He reached toward me. I turned my hand away. His fingers closed on air. For the first time in our marriage, Darian looked as if he did not understand the rules of the room. Who did this? I looked at him. You taught me public humiliation. I'll return the lesson properly. His face went white. What does that mean? It means you don't get my grief in private. Ronan's eyes flickered toward me. Darian stepped back slowly. Sarah, whatever you think, I'll handle it. I smiled. It hurt my lip. You handled Lila. I'll handle this. Security escorted him out. This time he went. Maybe because the family's men were waiting in the hallway. Maybe because he saw in my face that the woman who used to wait for him with cold food had finally stopped setting the table. The next 2 days were evidence and pain. Ronan moved like a blade. Hospital. CCTV corridor audio. The witness from the discharge line. Photos of my wrist. Photos of my face after the slap. The discharge form time. The street camera that caught the black SUV Lila's hospital post with Darian's family signet ring. My phone logs. Darian's unanswered calls from me. Darian's answered calls from Lila. The message from the hospital hallway to Lila's brother, a payment routed through one of his men, the driver found. In a safe house. Before he could leave the city, suddenly remembered he had been told only to scare me. Scare men like that loved the word scare. It made attempted murder sound like a prank. Lila posted again while I was still in ICU. A pale hand over a hospital blanket. Caption. My heart hurts when people misunderstand me. I only want everyone safe. The comments under her post were full of sympathy. Poor girl. The wife sounds scary. Protect your heart. I stared at the screen until it blurred. Ronan reached for my phone. I let him take it. Don't feed her. I'm not going to feed her. I'm going to starve her in front of everyone. He looked at me, then nodded once. The Valero family council was called 3 days later. The patriarch agreed because scandal had entered family territory. Darian's wife had been hit by an unmarked SUV outside a public hospital. A hospital witness had spoken. A video existed of Darian slapping me. Lila had used the family signet ring in a post that made the heir of the Valero family look like a man promising marriage to a teenager while still married. The patriarch did not care about romance. He cared about weakness. And Darian had become a wound in public. I was discharged into Ronan's protection, not Darian's. That alone sent whispers through the family. At the council house, rain had stopped, but the air still felt wet. I wore black, not mourning clothes. My wrist was wrapped. My cheek was still faintly bruised. My body hurt with every step, but I walked in without Ronan's arm. He stayed close anyway. Darian was already there at the long table, face-drawn eyes fixed on me. Lila sat beside him in a pale cardigan, looking fragile enough to bruise from a harsh word. Her brother stood behind her, jaw tight. The patriarch sat at the head, old, cold, still. Everyone else kept their eyes low. I placed 5 things on the table. My wedding ring, a photo of Darian's signet ring and Lila's hospital post, a drive containing hospital, CCTV, the hit-and-run report, the medical file. Darian stared at the ring first. His throat moved. Sarah. I did not look at him. I looked at the patriarch. I am here to return the family shame to the people who made it. A murmur moved around the room. The patriarch lifted one hand. Silence speak. So I did. First, the hospital corridor. The screen at the end of the room lit up. Lila grabbing my hand. Lila asking who I was. Me answering that I was Darian's wife. Lila stumbling back. Lila crying. The crowd forming me, standing still. Darian arriving. Darian comforting her. Darian crossing the corridor. Then the slap. Even on video, the sound was ugly. The room went dead quiet. I felt the impact again in my teeth. Darian's hands curled on the table. Lila's face had gone white. The witness appeared next. I was standing with her the whole time. She didn't do anything. The cameras are right there if you want to check it. Wasn't right. The video ended. No one moved. I turned to Lila. She pressed a hand to her chest. Darian, my heart. My voice cut through hers. Your heart only hurts when someone asks for evidence. A few men looked away, not because it was funny, because it was true. Darian did not move toward her. For the first time, Lila's hand stayed, alone on her chest. The patriarch looked at Darian. You humiliated your wife in public without checking a camera 10 feet away. Darian's voice was rough. I thought. You thought with another woman's tears. Darian lowered his head. The patriarch's eyes moved back to me. Continue. I showed Lila's post. The hospital gown, the hand, the ring. My hero promised to marry me once. I'm better. Lila's voice shook. It was just a joke. Girls post things like that. I looked at her. Girls post jokes. Women build lies. Darian's jaw tightened. I never promised to marry her. Then why did she believe it? Lila turned to him quickly. You did. You said once I recovered, you'd take care of me forever. You said I wouldn't have to be afraid. Darian's face changed. That is not marriage. Lila's eyes filled. You said I was different. I almost laughed. There it was. The same voice he used on me once. The same rescue story. Different hospital bed, younger, girl. Same hands. I looked at Darian. She was old enough to post it. You were old enough to let her believe it. He had no answer. Then came the SUV. Ronan stepped forward only to start the file. He did not speak over me. The footage was blurry, but enough. The black SUV circling me, leaving the hospital. The headlights. The impact cut out before the worst of it. I had ordered that no one needed to watch my body break to believe it had happened. Then the route map. The wiped camera. The recovered hospital message. The payment. The driver's statement. Lila's brother's phone number. Lila shook her head, tears falling fast. No, I didn't. Night. My brother only wanted to protect me. Her brother cursed under his breath. The patriarch looked at him. One of the guards pulled him back before he could speak to her. Ronan played the final audio. The driver's voice frightened and thin. He said the girl wanted the wife scared off. He said the brother made the call. He said no one was supposed to die. Just disappear from the hospital long enough for the family to handle her. The room turned colder. Lila stood suddenly. She was taking Darian from me. Darian looked at her then slowly, as if hearing her for the first time. I only meant to scare her. Her voice broke. She humiliated me. She told me she was your wife. She made everyone look at me like I was nothing. I stared at her. You were nothing to me until you became dangerous. Lila's face twisted. I love him. No, you loved being protected by him. The patriarch's fingers tapped once on the table. Enough. Lila sank back into the chair, sobbing. No one comforted her. That was when I picked up the medical file. Darian watched my hand. His face was already pale. Maybe some part of him knew. Maybe guilt has its own intelligence. I walked around the table and placed the file in front of him. He did not open it. Read it. His fingers shook. The room was so quiet, I could hear paper slide against wood. He opened the file. Read the first page, then the second. His face emptied. Completely. No, it was barely a sound. I stood across from him. You didn't just hit your wife, Darian. You hit the mother of your child, then left both of us in the rain. His body went still. The kind of stillness that did not look human. Lila stopped crying. The patriarch's eyes darkened. Darian looked up at me. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. I didn't know. No, I nodded once. You didn't. He stood too fast. The chair hit the floor behind him. Sarah. I stepped back before he could reach me. Ronan moved. Immediately, Darian looked at him like he wanted to rip the room apart. Then his eyes dropped to my wrist. The bruise. His bruise. The hand that had grabbed me at Lila's door. The hand that had slapped me outside Lila's room. The hand he had once promised would protect me. He looked at his own palm. Something in him broke. Not beautifully. Not enough to earn pity. Just enough for everyone to see it. I would have come. The words were desperate. I tilted my head. You did come for her. His face crumpled. I would have saved the baby. You could have started by saving the mother. A sound left him. Almost a sob. Almost a growl. Didn't know. You keep saying that like ignorance is innocence. He grabbed the edge of the table so hard, the wood creaked. I saved your life. The old chain, the first chain, the one he had used without ever saying it. I looked at him and felt it finally snap. You saved me once, then you spent years teaching me that my life still belonged to you. His eyes filled. I had never seen Darian cry. Not when he was stabbed, not when his first crew died, not when the patriarch beat him bloody for disobedience in his 20s. But now, one tear ran down his face. Too late. The patriarch stood. Everyone in the room lowered their eyes. A man who breaks his wife in public cannot be trusted to protect a family in private. Darian turned toward him. Father, no. The word cut harder than any blow. You brought a girl under family shadow without order. You let her wear the crest in public through your ring. You struck your wife in front of civilians. You let a lie become scandal. You failed to protect your own blood. Darian flinched at that last word. The patriarch held out his hand. The ring Darian's face went gray. For a second, he looked young again. That boy with blood under his nails, desperate to earn enough to keep me alive. Then he removed the family signet ring from his finger slowly, like tearing off skin. He placed it on the table. The patriarch did not pick it up. He looked at me. I understood. I walked forward. My fingers touched the cold metal for 12 years I had fastened. That ring before family meetings straightened his cuffs, smoothed the collar of the man I believed, owned my life because he had paid for it. Now, I slid the ring away from him. I used to fasten this for you before every meeting. Today, I'm taking back the hand that did it. Darian bowed his head. The patriarch's voice carried through the room. Darian is relieved of operations. A ripple moved through the men. His crews are reassigned. His private wing is closed. His accounts under family control are frozen. Pending review. The house is transferred into Sarah's protection until legal separation is finalized. Lila and her brother lose all Valero protection. The driver and anyone tied to the SUV will be handed to legal channels before this scandal rots the family from inside. Lila screamed. No, Darian, say something, you promised. Darian did not look at her. That destroyed her more than the guards moving toward her. She grabbed her chest again. My heart, I can't. The patriarch did not blink. Call a doctor after she gives her statement. Lila looked around the room. No soft voices, no wheelchair, no Darian kneeling, no hospital crowd ready to curse the wife for standing too straight. Only evidence, only men who had loved her fragility while it was useful and now saw it as poison. Her brother tried to shout that Darian had known nothing. The driver's statement had already eaten that defense alive. Lila was taken out crying his name Darian finally. Moved. One step, not toward her, toward me. Sarah, please. Ronan was beside me at once. The patriarch's guards also shifted. Darian stopped. That was his new life. A room full of men who no longer moved for him first. You can't leave like this. I almost smiled. Watch me. Legal separation began the next morning. In the family world, papers mattered less than power, but I took both. The house was placed under my name through the patriarch's settlement, though I did not stay there for long. Every wall had learned how to wait for Darian. I had waited enough. The private wing closed within a week. Women stopped drifting through it. Men who once bragged about drinking with Darian suddenly remembered other loyalties. Lila's hospital sympathy collapsed when the corridor footage reached the right people. Not the public at first. Just enough. Nurses, doctors, and family watchers to poison the story. The girl with a fragile heart had lied on camera, arranged a scare that became a crash, and used sickness like a bell to summon another woman's husband. Her brother lost his standing first, then his freedom. The driver cooperated messages surfaced. Payments, calls, timing. Lila claimed she only wanted me away from Darian. The law did not find that romantic. The patriarch did not find it forgivable. Darian faced questioning too, not for ordering the car. Even I did not believe he had, but for obstruction assault and the cover-ups that had protected Lila until the evidence became too loud. The family shield around him was gone. He was no longer the patriarch's wild son who could smash a door and be praised for loyalty. He was a liability. Liabilities have fewer friends than enemies. 2 weeks after the council, Darian came to the new apartment Ronan had found for me. Not the house, a smaller place near the river, with reinforced doors, clean windows, and no memories of cold dinners. I saw Darian from the security camera before the doorbell rang. He looked ruined. No ring, no leather gloves, no armed shadow behind him. Just Darian soaked in rain, standing like a man who finally understood what it meant to be left outside. Ronan stood behind me. You don't have to open it. I know I opened. The door with the chain still on Darian stared through the gap. His eyes went immediately to my face, then my wrist, then lower toward the stomach he had never known carried his child. Sarah, what do you want? I need to talk to you. You have 5 minutes. His mouth trembled at the limit. He had once owned nights' rooms, men roads. Now he had 5 minutes through a chain lock. I went to the cemetery. My throat tightened despite myself. We had placed nothing there yet. There was no body to bury, just a small marker I had arranged because grief needed somewhere to go. He continued. I didn't know what to say, so you came here to make that my problem. He flinched. No, I came to tell you I'm sorry. You're sorry you lost everything. I'm sorry I lost you. No, Darian, you lost me before the SUV. You just didn't notice because I was still breathing in your house. His eyes reddened. I loved you. I know. That answer hurt him. Good. Loved you too. That was the problem. His hand lifted toward the door. The chain caught his eye. He lowered it. I saved your life. Yes. My voice stayed calm. You bought my heartbeat once. Darian, I mistook the debt for love. His face collapsed. I never wanted you to feel like you owed me. Then you should not have spent 12 years collecting payment. He leaned his forehead against the doorframe. I can't sleep. Try the hospital. Lila used to find that line very effective. Pain crossed his face. I don't care about Lila. You did when I needed you. I was wrong. Yes, I'll spend the rest of my life making it. Right? No. He looked up sharply. No, you don't get the rest of my life. Silence rain hit the hallway window behind him. I thought of the night he first saved me. His hand reaching down, his grin, his blood, my young heart deciding that gratitude and love were the same thing, because I had nothing else to give. Then I thought of the hospital corridor, the slap the street, the red world, the tiny life leaving before I knew its name. I closed my hand around the chain Darian, once bought my life with his blood, so I spent 12 years mistaking debt for love. I paid that debt. I owe you nothing now. He dropped to his knees, actually dropped. The man whole rooms feared knelt in an apartment hallway with rain dripping from his hair. Sarah, please. Ronan moved closer. I did not need him to, but I was glad he was there. Get up, I said. Darian shook his head. I can't lose you. You already did. I'll give you anything. You have nothing I want. His face twisted. That was the final cruelty. Not shouting, not hatred, truth. I closed the door. Darian's hand hit it once. Not hard, just enough that I heard the man on the other side break. I leaned my forehead against the wood after it shut. My knees weakened. Ronan did not touch me. He only stood near. After a while, he spoke. Breathe. I laughed once, weak and sharp. Everyone loves that word. I know. Annoying habit. My throat tightened. He waited. That was the difference. Darian had saved my life and made it a debt. Ronan stood beside the door and let me decide whether I wanted help. Eventually, I turned around. I don't know how to love without owing someone my life. His expression softened. Then don't owe me, just live beside me. That was the first gentle thing I believed in a long time. Not because it healed me, because it did not ask to. Months passed. The family changed around Darian. People still feared him. Old habits die slowly, but fear without authority becomes a ghost. He had no cruise, no private wing, no ring, no wife beside him at council. When he entered a room, men stood out of habit, then looked toward the patriarch for permission to stay standing. That wounded him every time. Good Lila's case moved slowly. Then all at once, her heart condition did not disappear. Neither did the evidence. By the time her lawyers tried to turn her illness into mercy, the driver had already signed his statement. Her brother had already given up the payment trail, and the hospital message had already placed her at the center of the crash. She did not leave court as Darian's fragile girl. She left as the woman who had tried to erase a wife and killed the child that wife had not even known. She carried Darian's. Punishment was quieter, but it followed him everywhere. The patriarch did not restore his crews. The men who once lowered their eyes for him now waited for someone else's orders. Every room he entered remembered the ring he no longer wore. Every council meeting remembered the wife. He struck the child he lost and the woman he had protected until she destroyed him. She tried tears, then fainting, then claiming confusion, then blaming her brother. Her brother blamed her back. The driver kept talking. Darian never appeared for her. At her hearing, she looked around the room again and again, as if expecting him to walk through the door and kneel beside her wheelchair. He did not. When reporters asked if Darian Valero would support her, one of the patriarch's men answered with a single sentence, "Lila is not under family protection." That was the end of her fantasy. No signet ring, no hero, no future wife story, only court dates, hospital supervision, and the kind of public pity that curdles once people know what you did. I visited the small marker for the first time alone. No crowd, no ceremony. Just a quiet morning, gray sky, wet grass. The stone did not have a name. Only a date I had not known long enough to choose one. That felt unfair. But so much had been unfair that I no longer expected grief to arrive neatly. I stood there with a white flower in my hand. "I'm sorry," I whispered, "for not knowing, for not protecting, for loving the wrong man. Too long for mistaking survival for safety." The wind moved through the trees. Behind me, footsteps stopped at a respectful distance. Ronan. He had driven me there and waited by the gate until I nodded. Now he stood close enough that I was not alone. Far enough that the grief remained mine. I placed the flower down my whole life. I thought Darian gave me a heart that could keep beating. Ronan did not answer. I turned, but maybe keeping it beating was my job, after all. His eyes were gentle. Yes. That was all. Yes. No speech, no claim, no rescue story. Just agreement. I moved out of the house completely after the legal settlement closed. The patriarch sent the final papers through Ronan. The house sold, the money divided, mine placed in accounts. Darian could never touch. The signet ring remained with the patriarch. I saw it one last time at a council hearing where I came to sign the final separation document. It sat in a glass case near the patriarch's desk. Not on. Darian's wrist, not in Lila's photo, not fastened by my hands. A dead symbol. Darian stood across the room. He looked at the ring like it was a grave. Then he looked at me. I signed my name without shaking Sarah. Not Mrs. Darian, not the wife who waited, just Sarah. Afterward, he approached. The patriarch's guards watched. Ronan watched. I did not move away. Darian stopped 2 steps from me. Are you happy? The question surprised me. Maybe because it was the first time he had asked something that did not involve himself. No. His face tightened. Will you be? I looked at Ronan waiting near the door, then at the window beyond. Rain sliding down the glass. Yes. Darian closed his eyes. That answer hurt him more than no, because no would have kept me near grief. Yes, placed me somewhere beyond him. I left the council house without looking back. 1 year later, my heart still hurts sometimes. Not only the old scar, the new ones too, but I had my own apartment, my own accounts, my own locks, my own table, where food did not go cold for a man who never came home. Ronan came over every Thursday with groceries. He pretended were accidental. I bought too much. You live alone. I'm bad at math. You run numbers for the family. Only illegal ones. I gave him a look. He grinned faintly. Then he unpacked soup fruit medicine and the tea. My doctor wanted me to drink. He never asked for gratitude, never mentioned debt, never touched me without asking. One evening, rain hit the windows hard enough to blur the city lights. I stood in the kitchen watching water run down the glass. Ronan came up beside me, leaving a careful distance. Storm tonight. I know you scared. I thought about it. The rain, the hospital, the road, the SUV. Darian outside my door on his knees, the tiny marker under wet grass. Yes. Ronan nodded. Want me to stay in the living room? I looked at him. No pressure, no claim, just an offer with an exit built inside it. Yes. He smiled slightly. Then I'll stay. That was how peace began. Not with fireworks, not with vows, with someone sleeping on the couch during a storm, because I asked, and leaving in the morning before I had to wonder what I owed. Later, much later, when my hands stopped shaking at thunder and I could laugh without feeling guilty, Ronan and I visited the river, together. The same river near my apartment. The air was cold. The sky was clear. He walked beside me, not ahead. I slipped my hand into his. He looked down surprised. Sarah. I want to. His fingers closed gently. Nothing more. It was enough. Darian never remarried. That was not romance. That was punishment. He could sit in 1,000 rooms full of beautiful women and never again believe that loyalty would wait at home with dinner getting cold. Sometimes he sent flowers to the marker. I never moved them. Grief can have many visitors. Forgiveness is not one of them. Leela lost her hearing voice long before she lost. In court. No one rushed when she cried. No one believed her chest pains without a monitor. No one called her Darian's future. The last I heard, she had been moved out of the private ward into a guarded medical facility while the case continued. Her brother's name disappeared from family circles. The driver stayed alive because he kept talking. That was all I needed to know. The patriarch remained this patriarch, cold, practical, unsentimental. But every year on the date of my surgery, a basket of medicine arrived at my door with no card. I knew who sent it. I accepted it. Not as love, as tax. The Valero family owed me more than flowers. On the anniversary of the crash, I went to the marker alone at sunrise. Then I went home. Ronan was in the kitchen making breakfast badly. Smoke rose from the pan. I stood in the doorway. You're going to kill me after all? He looked offended. That egg attacked first. For the first time, the laugh came easily. Not sharp, not bitter, just mine. The hands Darian built to protect me became the hands that broke me, so I took my heart back before he could call the damage love. Did she go far enough, or was she still too merciful? Comment justice if the ending was perfect. Comment harder if you wanted an even colder revenge. Your comments decide how ruthless the next ending should be. Like and subscribe if you want to be here for the next